Hey guys, Bryan here from Liquid Concepts. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the top things that ruin your hydrographics. So let's get started. So number one is going to be poor prep work. So if you're doing an item and maybe you don't sand it, maybe you don't do any of the prep work or anything like that, and you're just going to throw the paint right on there, or maybe even just try to dip the part without any paint on it, you're definitely going to see a lot of problems. Number one, the paint's not going to stick. Number two, the dip may not even stick. So you always want to make sure that you have a properly prepped item before you go to either paint it or dip it or do anything of that sort. The next one is going to be using the wrong base coat. Now, we've covered this in other videos, so if you're interested in a lot more of the information on that, definitely check out the links in the description. We'll try to link the videos to that, but you always want to make sure that you're using a Hydrographics base coat or a compatible base coat for the Hydrographics. There's a lot of paints out there that are not really compatible with the Hydrographics, and most of them are more of a single stage paint. So that'll be most of your rattle can paints, or even like a single stage that has a clear and a base color built all into one. Those are going to be the majority of the ones that are not going to be compatible. Others are going to be maybe acrylics or enamels or things like that, but you always want to make sure that you're using the correct base coat for the best compatibility. Moving along is going to be part of the activator. Now, once we get the film on the water, sometimes you can over-activate the film. Now, if you're over-activating the film, you've got so much activator sitting on that film that it pretty much has nowhere to go, and number one, it could void out your pattern, it can move it in weird ways before you even dip it, or number two, which is the more likely scenario, is that as you dip it down into the water and you pull it back out, you've got so much activator, you actually start to re-wet your base coat. Whenever you do that, your pattern doesn't just stay on there. It actually goes on, and then gravity takes effect and it just starts running off. So if you've got this over activated and then you pull it straight out of the water and maybe you go to rinse it, the water hitting it will pretty much just make it run right off the part. Or if it's way over activated, it will literally just slide off the part immediately after you pull it out of the water. So make sure that you're getting that activator set on point. So of course, on the flip side of that, you also have under activation. So just like we had over activation, you can also have under activation. And this is also going to be a problem as well, mainly because your film is not actually going to stick to your part. If you have under activation, your part is not going to just go straight into the water and everything's going to wrap around beautifully. It's going to act more like paper going into the water. It's not going to stick, it's going to tear, it's going to break off. And then as you go to rinse it, you're not going to have any adhesion between the film and the paint because you don't have enough activator on there for a chemical bond. So therefore that water is just going to flake it right off, and you're also not going to get a good dip with any stretch or anything like that. So again, always make sure that you got your activator on point, you've got that smooth glassed out look, and everything dips really well. This is also the reason why we always try to make sure that we recommend doing a test dip before you do any of your actual parts that you're trying to dip. Make sure that you get everything dialed in beforehand so that way you don't have under activation or over activation. Another problem that could occur is not having the right water temperature. Now, water temperature is probably not going to be a super big factor in a lot of the problems that you're having, but it's definitely one to just keep in the back of your mind. Water temperature is mainly going to play a part in how the film stretches and what time it stretches. So just kind of remember, the hotter the water, the quicker the film dissolves. The colder the water, the slower it dissolves. So if you have colder water, instead of a 1 minute soak time, you might need to bump it to 1:30 or 2 minutes or maybe even 3 minutes. If you have warmer water, then of course we're gonna drop it down. So most of the time, keeping somewhere around the 80 to 90 degree mark and keeping it right around 1 minute is a good baseline. But just like I was saying before, always make sure that you test the film first to make sure that you get all those settings dialed in with what you're working with, so that way whenever you go to dip your part the first time, everything is on point and it comes out the way that you want it. So another thing to make sure of whenever you're getting your film dialed in is your soak time of your film. So you've already got your water temperature that you kind of need to have pretty steady and stable, whether it's 70 degrees, 80 degrees, 90 degrees. You want to try to keep it the same all the time. We recommend somewhere around 80 to 90 degrees for the best results. Now, on top of that, you definitely want to make sure that you get your soak times dialed in, because most films are normally about 1 minute at 80 to 90 degrees, and that's most of the films that you'll find in the market. But there are a lot of films out there that may take a longer soak time. There are some films that actually might take a shorter soak time. So going back to dialing in your film, that's where you're going to determine where your soak time is going to be the best at. So as long as you can keep your activator the same, changing your soak times will definitely vary and also make it to where the film will stretch better or worse depending on your temperature and your soak time. So always make sure that you dial that in, normally within about 15 seconds. So if you're dialing everything in, maybe do 1 minute, and then maybe even a minute 15, a minute 30, and continue on from there until you get your best results. So once you've got all of your soak time already figured out, you've got your water temperature figured out, now we need to talk about gun settings, because your gun is the way that you're applying your activator. So of course, we always want to make sure that we have a good gun that we're spraying our activator with. Now, I'm not talking about a really cheap gun, but I'm also not talking about a super high-end, best of the best, most expensive gun either. We just want a gun that has a really good atomization at a little bit lower PSI for the way that we spray, and then also has a really good fan control. Now, the fan control is just as important as the atomization, because you want to make sure that you get that really nice ellipse fan spray just like this, and then you also get a really good atomization, because once you get a more even amount of coverage across the entire film, then you're going to start getting a lot better results, because then you won't have inconsistencies with your activator being applied. Because if you do, then you're not going to get the best results possible, and you may even get under activation in some spots, and then you get correct activation in others. So getting that gun dialed in and getting a good atomization is definitely key in making sure that all this process works correctly. Another thing that we don't really talk about a lot, but it's mainly your water quality. Now, a lot of the times you'll see us having our machine like this right here, and it is always cycling and filtering the water. Now that's great, but also at some point there comes a point to where you just need to change your water. Now of course, a bigger amount of water, like a big tank like this, will probably last longer than if you're doing something in a very small area like a bucket or a tote or something like that. So always try to make sure that you have pretty clean water for the most part. Now, if it changes colors a little bit, normally not a big deal, but usually after a few months or maybe even a few weeks, depending on how much you're dipping in that area, you always want to try to make sure that you have clean water, so that way you get the best results possible. Once you get everything dialed in, you always want to try to make sure that you do not rush the dip. A lot of people, they see the 1 minute on the water, and to a lot of people that is very, very quick. By the time they put the film down, they go and they spray their activator, they're grabbing their part and they're trying to rush and hurry it up. Don't be in a rush. Don't worry about it. You want to take your time. You want to make sure that you have everything set up, make sure you have a game plan, and then just go nice and smooth and calm down into the water, and you will see a lot better results instead of trying to frantically do this as quick as possible. So that way you're trying to get it done before maybe an activator evaporates or something like that. But you don't have to worry about that. Normally you're going to have plenty of time, so take your time and don't rush the process. Once you get everything dialed in, you've got your part dipped. Another thing that you always want to try to make sure of is that you're not rinsing your parts too early. Now, could you take the part directly out of the tank and start rinsing it? Yes, you can. But let's say that you slightly overactivate that just a little bit, and if you go to rinse that immediately after you're dipping it, you're going to mess up the pattern, you're gonna void it out, it'll start to look like it is literally melting off of the part. A lot of the times what we like to do is let the part sit maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that, and that will always help in making sure that you're not messing up the pattern before you're actually going and rinsing everything off. So let it sit, it's not going anywhere, it's not gonna hurt anything, and you should get better results. Another thing to keep in mind is the humidity and the environment that you're working in. Now, we actually have a climate controlled environment in our dip room that we have, but a lot of the times you're not able to have a really nice area to work in. So you always want to try to make sure that you're aware of your surroundings and the environment, mainly because if it's raining outside and it's got a lot of humidity in the air, you're going to be fighting that film as it's going into the water, and it's going to maybe roll up more or things like that. Or if it's super hot outside, it's going to be a lot harder to work with the film itself. So having a climate controlled environment is always going to be better, but it is not absolutely necessary. You're just going to have to adjust and try to work with the environment settings that you're working in. So last but not least is going to be mixing different products. Now, there's a lot of times that you can use maybe a different clear or a different paint or a different primer, and all of these are from maybe different companies. And while that will still work, and I'm not saying it won't, the one thing that you have to remember is that if you're using all the products from one company, not just maybe ours, but just from one company in general, most of the time those products are made to work together with each other. So whenever you go to start veering away from a situation like that, then the problem is that you have to do your own research to make sure that you're putting out a good quality product, because you could be using a super cheap clear on this primer and paint, and then everything looks great, but at the end of the day, it's actually not the best coating because maybe the clear didn't bond with the paint, or the clear did not hold up over time as it should have with a different type of clear that may have been recommended. And so therefore you get a lot of parts that may come back, or they may deteriorate prematurely compared to what an industry standard would be or something like that. So you always want to make sure that you try to keep the same compatible products as necessary, so that way everything works together, everything is a better coating, and overall you're giving the customer a lot better quality of a coating all the way around. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, definitely leave them in the comment section below. Always love to hear from you guys. If you think that I missed anything or you want to add something else, always love to hear from you guys on that, so that way we can maybe even add it to a future video, or maybe even do our own just little video segment just on that one thing. Also, if you're interested in getting into the hydrographics, definitely check out the links in the description below. We have everything that you're gonna need for the hydrographics, including the paints, the training, the tanks, all of your chemicals, everything that is going to be compatible with the hydrographics. Same things that we use here at our facility. We have them all there on the website, so definitely check that out. If you like the video, hit the like button. Also, if you like this video and you wanna see other videos, hit the subscribe button. We'd always love to have you subscribe to our weekly tips on anything hydrographics related. I'm Bryan from Liquid Concepts, and this is how we customize your world. We'll see you guys next time.